go off air to live. There it says live. Now we're live. Okay, so sorry, we had some technical difficulties, and Thomas didn't like the fact that we were going on, so it's been a little crazy. These are our lives. This is the real stuff, people. My name's Heather Robertson Devine. I'm the owner of Books Del Sur, and this is #BilingualWe. This is our 5th episode. 5 is my favorite number, so this is so exciting. And I'm here with my co-host and partner in crime, Krista Jimenez, and we have a very special guest today. We have Kaylee from For the Love of Spanish, and this is happening, people. Community growing in front of our own eyes. So, Krista, welcome. Do you have any wise words to say? I know you do.
I might. I'm trying. I had to restart my computer to get this thing going, and I'm trying to figure out how to minimize this so I can see the agenda. So I'm going to let you keep rolling with this for a second here, Heather.
Yep. Okay. Sounds great. Sorry
about that.
So it's okay. So our 5th episode today is so that we can learn about one other person's experience. So Kaylee is going to share her experience today with us, so that the whole point of this first series is for us to grow our community and for everyone to feel included and a part of a bilingual community, because that's our whole purpose. Is we want people to know that there's support out there and other people are raising their children bilingually the best we can, and there's no right way to do that. Every way that we're doing it is the best we can do it, and we want to support everyone in their mission. So our goal is to connect people together, and this is one great way of connecting everyone together. I'm ready to chime in now with my deep thought for the day. Oh yeah, are you ready to share about your deep thought about the DMV?
Yeah,
is that it?
Yeah, last night
Krista.
We went out for dinner for Father's Day, and I got carded to order a beer, which doesn't usually happen. And apparently my license was almost expired, which I didn't notice. And so I had to go to the DMV today. And while I was there, I was reading a book about race and class and poverty. And, I live in the city of Denver, so I go to the DMV just right in the heart of the city. And I was thinking about how I love going to the DMV because it's such a great equalizer. Rich, poor, black, white, yellow, green, blue, whatever color you are, you have to go and get your driver's license or your ID if I don't know, if you want to present yourself to society, I guess. So, I'm in there and I'm just surrounded by all of these different types of people, and I just got to thinking how language can be an equalizer, especially for our bilingual kiddos, because there are so many more doors that are open for our children when we're raising them in any sort of bilingual situation, and how it can also be a great unequalizer if you're not a person who is literate or able to function in society in that way. So anyway, deep DMV thoughts of the day, but any and all language education is wonderful, and so that's our mission here.
Yeah, so we're having a time change this week because I'm fancy and I have some professional development to run tomorrow and Wednesday, so thanks for adjusting our times, and it worked out perfectly so Kaylee could join us, which is great. Next week we are hoping to be back at our regular Tuesday 3 o'clock Central Time. And then we're going to take a break for a little bit because 4th of July and stuff like that, and we need to get ready for our next series. So yeah, we're gonna have we'll be back at our regular time Tuesday next week, and in our partnership Books Del Sur with Pura Vida Moms, how you can connect with us. You can find that information at puravidamoms.com, and if you'd like to visit Books Del Sur's store, booksdelsurstore.org or .org. Long story. Someone stole our .com a long time ago. Anyway, then tried to sell it back to me. Thanks, but no thanks. Yeah. So visit booksdelsur store.org or booksdelsur.org, and if you use hashtag bilingual we at checkout, you can get 15% off your order. And you can also get some super cool books. The website is our catalog. You know, it needs some work, and it's not exactly super friendly. So if you are looking for recommendations, please feel free to email me. Tell me, hey, my kid's like XYZ age, and I'm looking for books around this kind of topics, and I'm more than happy to make some recommendations for you and make that easier to navigate. I mostly work with schools, and they don't usually use my online store, so that is Bookstill, sir. Just a couple of terms I want to recap for you. Sequential bilingual, that's what Krista and I are. We are, first we learned English, then we learned Spanish. That's sequential. Simultaneous bilingual are what Krista's children are. They're learning English and Spanish at the same time. And that can be in whatever dosage you want, but it's happening at the same time. ML at H is minority language at home, and that's using the minority language in your home context. Sometimes it also means that you may use it out in public, but it's really using it consistently and constantly at home, and that's also what Krista's model they use at home, and that's in episode 2, Krista?
Yep, that's episode 2.
Okay. And then emergent bilingual is a term that's often used by schools and what they call our kids that are bilingual and developing in their languages. And then code switching is another term.
Oh, yeah, I get to talk about these.
Yeah, you ready?
It's exciting.
Well, I was thinking, I really wanted to share the code switching, one quick thing. Mm-hmm. So Krista's name is a code switch in itself, okay? So we got Krista Jimenez. Okay, so I need to code switch in the middle of her name because we got the first word gringa and then the second word in Espanol. And so for my brain to wrap my head around that, that's quite the challenge. So my brain's pretty advanced because I now have mastered that task. So
yeah. So code switching.
You want to add anything to code switching? Go ahead.
Sure. Wow. That's the first time I've ever heard my name used as code switching. I love it. So code switching is the idea that you know the context and the audience.
Wait, Krista.
Yeah? Am I gone? Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, great. So code switching is the idea that you know your audience in the context of what you're trying to say. We'll talk about code switching even within the English language, that you will talk to your mom in a different way than you will talk to the President of the United States. And that becomes even more prominent when we're talking about bilingual kids because they're actually code switching within 2 languages, which is where BICS and CALPS come in, which we talked about last week, where BICS is your interpersonal, your basic personal communication skills and how you relate to others that are on the same level as you, and CALPS is your academic language, and how sometimes bilingual people can have interpersonal language or language from home. Like my girls, I don't think they know a ton of academic Spanish, but they can converse in Spanish with anyone that they need to. Or you'll have people who study Spanish as a second language and know all of the academic. And you throw them down in the middle of Peru and they have no idea how to introduce themselves because all they know how to talk about are verb conjugations. So those are BICS and CALPS as they kind of relate to code switching. And then we're talking a little bit about, last week we talked about contextual bilingualism, and today we're talking about situational bilingualism. And Heather and I kind of took a step back on these as we were conversing about this week's episode, because contextual and situational bilingualism are very similar. In that when you are contextualizing your language, you are figuring out in the context of this situation, this is how I speak or what language I use, which is a lot like code switching, where situational bilingualism can be in this time or this place or with this person, I'm speaking Spanish. So for example, my oldest daughter had to figure out that her grandma, my mom, doesn't speak Spanish, so she can't read books to her in Spanish. She was tiny, 18 months, and she'd take her a book and say, read this to me, and my mom would say, I can't do that because I don't know Spanish. So in that situation, she had to use her English, where context can be, for example, Heather and I both are bilingual, but contextually it feels strange for us to speak Spanish to each other, even though we would understand each other, there would be no problem. The context for us is based more in our native language, which is English. So those two terms are super closely related, but there's just a little nuance there, and we're looking for some research for you guys for some more nerdicals to add in for what that can look like for our bilingual kids.
And really, us sharing all these nerdy terms is just to help us to make you feel included, and for you to be able to identify yourself with something so that we can all feel a part of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a special guest this week, Kaylee from For the Love of Spanish blog, and she's so generously tuned in to kind of share her story because, well, I'll let her tell, but she's doing some homeschooling in Spanish and has some different bilingual goals for her family than Heather and I do. So again, any type of bilingualism and goals, we want to support that, share that, create this community, and make it wider and larger. So Kaylee, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your blog and kind of what your mission is?
Sure. So I don't exactly know what the date is that I started blogging, but basically my major in college was Spanish, and when I graduated I got a job as an interpreter at a preschool. And so I worked with the Spanish-speaking families, and I was kind of a liaison between the teachers and the Spanish-speaking families. And then quickly after that, I got married, and then I had a baby, and I found myself staying at home, and I did not want to lose my Spanish. So my mom was like, "Hey, will you can teach your siblings Spanish," because my siblings were homeschooled. I grew up homeschooled, like 6th grade through high school. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And so then I just kind of got into that, just teaching them what I knew from college. And then I started blogging. I don't remember why or how, but I just kind of used it as a place to in the area who maybe wanted to learn Spanish. And then just as my son started growing up, and then I had another son, I just started doing activities with them, and I was like, hey, this would be fun to blog about. And then what really changed things for me is when I got connected with Leanna at All Done Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have heard of her website, and she had this thing called like culture swapping, and I blogged about something, I don't remember what it was, multicultural, and I just somehow came across her website, and then she reached out to me, and I joined the Multicultural Kid Blogs group on Facebook, and that just totally changed my life. So that's where I got to connect with a lot of people from around the world who were interested in raising multilingual kids, multicultural kids. So I just kind of found my place there.
And your people, it sounds like.
Yeah. And so they just have been a huge encouragement to my Spanish, and I still consider myself a Spanish learner. So basically I blog about everything I'm learning, everything I'm teaching my kids, and I'm still teaching one of my siblings. He's going into his senior year of high school. And I taught Spanish to my sister that's just older than him. I taught her all through high school, and she's in college now. She actually tested into like second level college Spanish. So I was like, yay. I actually know a little something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know if that answers
Kaylee,
the question, but
oh, it totally does. I'm wondering, how old are your
Yeah.
kids right now? And how many do you have?
so my oldest, I have 4.
Oh, wow.
So I have
okay.
one that, my oldest is 6, and then the one just under him, he's almost 5, and then I have a 2-year-old and a 10-month-old.
Oh, wow.
2-year-old, 10-month-old.
Well, I
Yeah.
have a-
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 13-month-old, so we had babies around the same time.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah.
Kind of brings it back up in my mind, makes me want to, I'm like, oh, I get a fresh start.
Yeah. 4 is amazing, so I applaud you.
Yeah, you're a rock star. Absolutely.
It's
So
crazy.
can you tell us a little bit about how bilingualism looks in your house? So, for example, in my household, it's during playtime with Thomas and definitely reading time. Krista's, it's all the time. When and how is it in your house?
It's very rare right now. I think that, like I said, every time I have a baby, I'm like, oh, here's my chance to do this bilingual thing from the start. I speak Spanish. But honestly, it's hard because I'm the only one that speaks Spanish in my house. My husband, he's monolingual. And, I mean, he knows a little Spanish because he used to work in restaurants. But so I don't have a lot of support, and we also live in an area where, I mean, currently we don't associate with anyone that speaks Spanish just because we don't know anyone. So my support's pretty limited. But
Until
I do
now.
things. Yeah,
here we are.
Exactly. That's why I was so excited to find you guys. So I'll read a Spanish book, or I say phrases. Like, they know things like ven aquí, or dame las llaves, or, hola, ¿cómo estás? Stuff like that. And if we ever run into someone at the playground or something, and they're speaking Spanish with their parents, they recognize it. So they're like, oh, Mom, they speak Spanish. And I'm like, yeah, dile hola. So that's kind of what it looks like. But so we're homeschooling, and we're going into our first official year. And so that has really got me lately thinking about what is our bilingual plan. And all the books that I've read say you need a plan, make a plan, and choose a method, choose a, what's your style. And I think I've kind of settled on, what's it called, time and...
Yeah, it is called time and place, because I was explaining this to Heather, and I could not figure out, I was making a plan when my oldest daughter was born of what bilingualism was going to look like, and because I'm like you, I had to have it had to look like something, and I had to be able to say, this is how we're doing it when it gets tough, right? Because it's not easy. And so time and place was one that I thought would be super interesting, and you'll have to tell us a little bit where you found this resource on this, because I told Heather over and over, I said, I know that I read about this, I found the notes where I read about it, but I cannot remember where I found the information.
That's so funny. I think it was Bilingual is Better by Ana Flores
and Roxana Diaz.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
No?
I was looking in there, and I'm going, it's not, I don't see it. It's not in there.
Okay, another one I read was called, I think it's called Being Bilingual by Annika Bernion. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, well, do, just for curiosity, because it's out there.
Somewhere.
and it's
sure, you guys. Sure.
You're just jealous because you hadn't heard of it yet. So you chose time and place bilingualism, and it sounds like a lot of that is because of your situation where, I mean, it sounds like a challenge that you have is feeling isolated, right? Like you're the only one doing this in your family, and you're the only one in your community doing this, which I think Heather can really relate to on a lot of levels. And then because you're actually going to be, your kids have a little bit of the interpersonal language, but you're really looking to have them also have academic language through homeschooling.
Yep. So my huge goal is dual language high school. But that's going to take a lot of work on my part.
So to get
like
them
if I'm
ready
going to be teaching them, if I'm going to be teaching them science in Spanish, like I have a lot to learn. Unless we happen upon, if we get to move somewhere, or if we happen upon a school in our area that opens up or something, then it wouldn't have to be me.
Yeah.
Kaylee, not a worry. My first job was teaching bilingual science in a middle school, and I just added an O to the end of every word in English. And, I mean, 70% of the time I was doomed right on. Yeah. Microorganismos, and then there it is.
Yeah, just like You do that
High
question
quality
with
education from me that first few years. Oh my goodness, those poor children. Oh.
Well, so was part of the decision? It sounds like you were homeschooled, and you're deciding to homeschool your kids. Was part of that decision because you wanted to pass on the Spanish, and because your local schools were not supporting it, or were there other pieces?
Yeah, I mean that's a big component for me. Is you know, because I was just thinking about this today. It's like if I sent them to public school, they'd be getting all that English input. So then I would feel kind of obligated to give them a lot of input then at night, and I just didn't want our only language together to be Spanish because it's not my native language, and I can't be very maternal in it. Although it's getting easier the more the more I'm reading things and learning nursery rhymes, and fourth time around, it feels a little more natural to be like, te quiero, but with my first child, I was not ready to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I mean, that's something that comes up for me. It really rocks my core, because I've gone back and forth a lot that I only parent my kids in Spanish. And there are times when that is just, I talked about this last week, I think, but it's easy to lose sight of that mission because it's not my native language, and there are things I want to say and pass on, and nuances and cultural pieces that I feel like I sometimes can't or shouldn't, because it's always a trade-off with the language exposure. And actually, as my daughter gets older, it's easier because she's becoming more bilingual and understanding that time and place. But that idea of the maternal feelings and the passing on of the family traditions, and how you do that in a second language, and what that looks like if you're an expat versus a homeschool mom versus, isolated or in a big city. Heather, that could be a whole series on this show.
For sure. And I've one person I really admire is her name is Audrey. She has a blog called Españolita blog. Her first language was English. I think she learned Spanish at some point in school. And then she married a man from Spain. And she chose from the beginning to, they were only going to speak Spanish as a family. And they even speak Spanish outside of the home, I believe. So they're, within their family unit, they're always speaking Spanish, which I just admire. And so some people can do it, but for me, it wasn't the right fit. And, I think that's the thing, too, with this whole journey is, like, we just have to learn that, to be easy on ourselves, and just like you said on one of the episodes, any exposure is good, Even if you can just teach them to count to 10, like, we're teaching them that the world is bigger than English, because I didn't have that growing up. I mean, my parents have, until I guess maybe 7 years ago, my mom had never left the country. My dad still has never left the country. I mean, besides Canada and Mexico, but that doesn't count. So, my mind was kind of blown when I got to college and I started learning Spanish, and that's when I fell in love with it. I was like, whoa, there's this whole entire world out there. Like, it's just, if I can pass only that on to my kids, I'm happy.
And that's a lot what I talked about last week with my experience, and just like I'm the only one in the home who speaks Spanish. My stepkids do not. My husband does not. And for me to only speak Spanish would be really, it's Thomas, Krista.
Well, no, it's mine as well. The 3-year-old is refusing to go to bed without mommy.
Oh.
Does it ever end?
I don't. Yeah. Kaylee, does it ever end? You're a little further ahead than us. Nope. Okay.
Great. Okay. I guess.
The support group's really awesome.
Age 6 is a little easier.
So that's just the point, is we're all doing it differently, and how can we support each other? So, Kaylee, one of the things when you were talking about, your plan for next year, our article for the week is a really it's called Teaching Literacy in Spanish, and it's a little bit too much information in terms of like what classroom teachers do and how they structure what many people call a reading workshop. But something that's really great in it is if you skip the first, which I do all the time in academic articles, skip the first
the truth
three,
comes out.
really 3 or 6 pages. There's a Cornejo Spanish word frequency list, and that's just a really great basic list of words that are like the high frequency commonly used, and then it goes into talking about word walls and different word relationships and how to kind of, the word walls are a way of categorizing and thinking about words. And so I hope that this could be a resource for you for your plan, especially in those beginning stages when teaching the initial sounds to your 6-year-old, and this is just a really great kind of the word wall walkthrough is a great way to walk through kind of how words are constructed in Spanish and the basic phonemes kind of features. So check that out. Crystal will put that in our show notes. We love to say that fancy thing, show notes.
Well, and I also want to add something. Oh, sorry, if I can, Heather, about the word wall before you move to the next part. But word walls are something that I used a lot when I was teaching high school. And the other thing that I really love about them is that your kid can look up at the wall and grab the language from there instead of consistently having to try to recall it from memory, which when you're learning a second language can be tough at first, right? And it's not something that they have to lose their train of thought to look in a dictionary, refer to their notes or whatever. It's just right there. And we have a little mini word wall in our house here with just some of the basic words that my daughter's learning. I'm trying to teach her to read in Spanish, but lately she wants to read, she just doesn't want to do it herself. But I think I love that word wall idea. So anyway, it's something to think about. Sorry for interrupting, Heather. Go on.
No, you didn't. I was just going to say, this is something that we could also discuss further. I mean, the beginning development stages. I
would appreciate that.
Yeah, well, it's fun, right? It's fun, and it's a great way to start. Yeah, I do have a vocales activity too, where I start with, because the vocales are a, e, o, u. Mm-hmm. It is a great place to start, and with those sounds, and the transfer between the languages is so strong there. And then in Spanish, we really don't need to teach the sound of the word. We need to teach the sound of the word, but not necessarily the letter name. So it's a nice transition when you go from the vocales to the vowels in English and Spanish. So let's check out that resource and let's discuss it and make comments on it. Let me know what you think.
Yeah,
Kathy Escamilla, for everyone's knowledge, is the most prolific researcher in bilingual education. She is a Latina. She's Mexican American. She is has just been named the chair of the education department for the University of Colorado at Boulder, which is a huge position for a Latina, and she is so deserving of it. She is an incredible leader. If you ever get a chance to see her, she's also hilarious, like quick-witted, smart, like chistosa. So and just heart of gold.
I might go
and her husband
lectures one day at CU Boulder. It's only like 25 minutes from here. Just show up.
Yeah,
and be
I
like,
would.
Hey, girls.
Her and her husband have a Bueno Center where they're training Latino. It's a Latino leadership center. It's incredible, and they're really changing education in the United States, and we got to give all of our props to them. So.
Yeah. So Heather, would you be willing to link that vocales activity also in the show notes?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Sure. I will share that with you.
Well, great. Well, last week we really got going on this, and we ended up going for a long time. And we're just at about kind of our 30 minutes. We want to respect everyone's time. So, Kaylee, thank you so much for sharing just a little bit of your journey. I think every time we can add a voice, I guess I can move the camera to me. Every time we can add a voice of somebody else, I feel like a lot of us feel isolated and like we're maybe not doing enough or right, or we don't know what to do or where to go next. And that's really the essence of why we created this community, right? Is someone like you can jump online at any time of day and hashtag bilingual we and say, hey, I'm getting ready for my 6-year-old Spanish curriculum, and I don't know where to start. What are the 10 words that should go on my word wall? Or what are some resources, for engaging resistant learners? And we can all chime in. So please do chime in and let us know how we can support you, because really at the end of the day, our mission is just to make sure that kids can be bilingual and whatever that looks like and whatever works for your family. So thank you so much for, first of all, for jumping in tonight and just sharing your story with us and our viewers. And
is there anything else, Kaylee, that you wanted to add?
Yeah. I mean, just thank you for having me. When I found you guys, I think it was Krista, you posted a picture of episode 4, and I was like, wait, what? Episode 4? I've missed 4 episodes? What's this? So I went and listened, and it was like a gift from heaven. I was like, this is what I need, like, I mean, you're right. It's easy to feel alone, and like I'm part of the multicultural kid blogs, but not all of them are doing Spanish, and not all of them are homeschooling. Not all of them are teaching their child to read in 2 languages, just so, yeah, I'm super excited. And I even put the bilingual we hashtag on my Instagram just to get that out there, just so people know that it exists. Yay. So I'm looking forward to that growing as a resource, and, it's going to be great. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Good. Well,
thank you.
We're in it.
We think of this as a community, and we are maybe the people who got on the first video chat, but this community is everybody's community. So please chime in anytime and encourage everyone to do the same, because we're really excited that you found us and that that we get to have you. So thank you so much again.
So the question of the week is,
Yeah,
what are your bilingual goals for your household? Kaylee shared some of hers, and she's on a mission to make hers happen for the fall. And so what are your goals for your household? Share those with us. I can just tell you right now, my goal for the week was to get Thomas to understand the word chanclas, and bingo, score. The kid brought me his chanclas tonight, and I put them on. So we went from shoes to chanclas. So yes. It can be a simple goal as your kid identifying chanclas, his receptive language, to, you want to create a word wall with high frequency words if you want to be that kind of an overachiever, you know what I mean? So I'll just keep it real with the chanclas, and we're good. But you guys, everyone to their own. So
well, Heather, you had a goal, so let's talk about this, because in Mena's household there was no. I think it was get through the week. And we did so. So we did it. We made it. I'm just kidding, but I think that's actually a powerful thing of setting maybe just a weekly language goal. What does it look like? And check in. How we can check in with each other. How is it going? I'll make a goal for this week and I'll post it. I can commit to that for sure.
I did, Krista, send you an image of the word chanclas on the fridge. So.
Well, now I get it, because I'm like, there's a magnet and chanclas and some more magnets. What am I supposed to do with this? Now I know.
How old is? You said his name's Thomas?
Yeah, Thomas is 18 months.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
18.
Yeah, his 18. Yeah. So his receptive language is there. His productive, not so much, but whatever.
Yeah.
He's fine. And next week also we got another great nerdy articles. We're going to talk a little bit about the diversity within Spanish and
Yes.
What our motivators are in terms of basically creating world peace. So next week's topic, world peace. Get on it.
Small topic.
Yep, small topic.
Well, we've done 5 successful episodes. We might as well go for world peace.
We're ready to conquer world peace.
Yeah. Hey, one child at a time, right? Kaylee's got 4. Krista's got 2. I got 3. I mean, right there.
That's 7. That's a very small village.
Yep.
And if we can introduce them, maybe we can get some intermarriage going here.
Oh boy, already going back to the arranged marriage traditions. Great.
Completely.
All right, ladies.
But Oh,
Oh.
but I did read Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari, who is hysterical, and he talks a lot about dating now in the 21st century and what that looks like. But his parents met and got married a week later in an arranged marriage, and look who they produced, one of the most prolific comedians of our time. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm not pro arranged marriage, but I'm definitely pro read Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari if you want to laugh and be glad you're not in the dating scene right now.
So next week's topic, world peace and dating. Is that what? No.
Well, there is some polygamy in
All right,
Modern
ladies,
Romance,
it was fun. We're getting a little giddy and probably a little tangential, which is classic for us. Kaylee, thanks again for joining us. Check out Kaylee's blog. For the Love of Spanish. It's amazing. She's doing great stuff. Follow her on Instagram, and let's support the hashtag bilingual we, everyone.
Awesome. Good night. Thank you, ladies.
Buenas noches. Ciao, ciao.